everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the Aviation Spotters podcast. I am your host, Colin. I do want to apologize about last week with the delay in the episode. I do apologize about that. And, as you guys saw from my Facebook post, I did have a bit of a scheduling conflict to try and get that episode out. However, the wait is over. Here we are on the new episode of the AvSP. So I got some feedback about the On This Day in Aviation History portion in the intro last week, and I decided to keep doing it, but we're going to chop it up a little bit. Some people said that is a little too clunky and a lot more information than they wanted, so what I've done is I've just scaled it down to one event per day. So, September 27th, 2011. All Nippon Airways flies the first delivery of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner from Painfield, Washington to Tokyo International Airport. September 28th, 1934. Lufthansa, Germany's national airline, flies their millionth customer. 1 million customers in 1934. So can just put that in perspective, that long ago, and how many people they've flown since. That's amazing. September 29th, 1988. NASA resumed space shuttle flights after grounded by the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster with STS-26. The reason why I put that one in there is there's a fantastic Netflix documentary called Challenger, and I would highly recommend watching it and go checking it out. September 30th, 1975. This first flight of the Boeing AH-64 Apache. October 1st, 1969. The Concorde supersonic transport exceeds the speed of sound for the first time. October 2nd, 1966. The first flight of the Grumman Gulfstream II, which would then go on to be one of the most proliferated bizjet families of all time. And finally, October 3rd. We're taking a throwback for this one, guys. October 3rd, 1785. Jean-Pierre Blanchard makes the first manned balloon ascent in Germany. One of the first men to ever reach into the sky. Hopefully you guys like that form a little bit better on this day in aviation history. So now let's move on to the interview. My guest this week is one of my best friends in the spotting community, and I actually asked him very short notice to come on. He is from Salt Lake City, Utah. His name is Chris Cagle. He tells some pretty interesting stories in the rarest aircraft he's ever spotted, and a pretty good story with another friend of mine and myself. So make sure you guys stick around for the end for that one. But anyway, guys, this was a good interview. So yeah, let's get to know a little bit my best friend, Chris Cagle. We'll see you back here in a bit. All right, everyone, here we are, episode 12. Joining me today is my friend Chris Cagle from Salt Lake City. Chris, how you doing this morning?
Doing good, Colin. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, of course, man, no problem. You're one of my best friends in the spotting community, so I think I would had to get you on here at some point, but otherwise I'm doing good. The smoke finally blew out of Boise, and it's a little chilly, so fall's starting to move in, I should say. So how's the weather down there in Salt Lake?
Just about the same. Kind of cooled off overnight, but sunny, so we'll take it. The smoke got cleared out as well here, so
that smoke was just atrocious.
Oh yeah, when I was up in Boise a couple weeks ago, that was the worst I'd seen this year.
Yeah, it's not fun. Anyway, man, let's jump right into it. So let's get to know you a little bit. Where you're from and how you got into aviation photography and all that good stuff.
So I'm from outside Salt Lake City in a town called Riverton, Utah. I'm born back east in North Carolina, but I call this place home. Been here for over 20 years now. As far as like how I got into aviation spotting, I first got into aviation when I was a kid. Started getting into like aviation magazines like Combat Aircraft and those things. And so that just kind of progressed on. I always loved the photography, but never really had access to cameras or anything like that. We had like some film cameras, but I didn't know how to use them. After that, I think I got my first digital camera, just a point and shoot back in '06. Started using that, didn't really know what I was doing either, and then finally got my first DSLR back in 2011. But just always had an interest in aviation, especially military aviation, and always liked being around it. So just since I never became a pilot or was involved in the industry, photography was kind of the next best thing to kind of get involved with it.
Yeah, and I know that what you do for your job, it takes you all around the region. That's how we met years ago when you came up and we just started talking, spotting, and all that. But it's also pretty nice to have like a job where you're able to, on your free time, to do stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah, so I work sales. I've been with my company for quite a while now, and part of my territory is Boise. So, like you said, that's how we got to know each other. I go up there for work, spend a couple days a month up there, and I don't really have anything else to do other than go spotting after work. So, luckily enough, Boise has a plethora of stuff coming in. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a major airport where you got a lot of heavy stuff, but there's a lot of military action up there, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, there can be, a lot of people expect that, and the people then will come and they realize they get absolutely hosed because it's just one of those things where it's like it can happen or it won't happen at all, and trust me, it normally doesn't.
Oh yeah,
But
I've been skunked there before several times, but yeah, it's
yeah,
just when you get lucky, it's fun. It's just how spotting is. Sometimes you're gonna get stuff, sometimes you're not gonna get anything. You're gonna strike out.
absolutely, that's great. That is so true. So, what would you consider your home airport then?
My home airport's just Salt Lake City International (SLC). It's about the closest to my house. Realistically, the closest is one in West Jordan, but there's really not a lot going on other than light aircraft. But I like doing Salt Lake City. Try swinging by there a couple times a week to at least see what's going on. It's pretty quiet right now, relative as far as like all the heavies and stuff like that, because of the coronavirus situation. But other than that, it's still been really busy. We get some
Yeah,
military action in there. It's not a lot, but we do get our fair share, and it's been pretty spotter friendly. So I've
yeah, that's
enjoyed
what
it.
I've heard, and also you have Hill right up the road as well, which I also consider another home airport because it's it's just right up the road.
Yeah, it's about an hour from me, and I do go by there. I usually don't spot just on normal days up there. It's if they're doing like a large force exercise or a TDY. Another unit's got a TDY or a you know what do you call it? Temporary duty. It's what
Yeah, like a
TDY stands
debt.
for. A detachment.
Yeah,
I'll go looking for like other aircraft. I've seen the F-35s quite often, so I don't go just chase F-35s all the time. But it's not the easiest airport to spot up at Hill, but it's definitely got its opportunities.
that it does. I mean, I've tried spotting up there too as well, and it takes some effort to find a decent spot and to actually get yourself out there. I mean, but at the end of the day, also is you never know what you're going to get because it is a huge depot point for the Vipers, A-10s. Raptors, C-130s, and plus that air museum out there too. So you really never know what you're going to get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Some things just drop through and stop there on the way, either to the east or west coast. So,
And F-117 on a truck bed that was uncovered.
yeah, which I happened to be in Boise when that came into to Hill Museum,
Yep,
but I have been
I
there to visit
remember.
a couple times since. So,
Well, that's always. I can't wait to get down there and see her in person. So hopefully they get. I want to get down there when everything is assembled, and it's still hopefully in the strip paint because I would love to see it like that. So otherwise, so besides plane spotting, what else do you like doing outside of aviation spotting? Because I know you're big into muscle. You're big into cars. I mean, that's what we secondary talk about a lot is cars when we're together. But what else do you have?
other than cars, I'm kind of a follow on. I like racing, bunch of different racing, IndyCar, Formula One, stuff like that. I don't attend a lot of races because there's not a lot in this region, but
Mm-hmm.
we do go. Me and my wife usually go to the Long Beach IndyCar race each year, and that's a lot of fun. Actually, really cool to go and take pictures down there as well.
Yeah, I know you and your family like to be doing that. Hopefully I can join you. But in join you one of those days, because I'd love to go there and see a live race for once.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right, well, let's kind of moving on. So you said you started in 2006 with a point-and-shoot camera. Well, let's talk cameras. What had you used in the past? What do you use right now?
I can't remember the exact name of the one I had. I was like Kodak Easy Share. It was like, had a pretty decent zoom on it for, point and shoot. But my first DSLR was a Nikon D3100 and just the kit lenses with it, the 55 to 300 and 18 to 55. A good starter package. Had a lot of really good stuff with that. I went through a D7000, D7100. Now I'm shooting two D500s. Is what's in my bag right now. As far as lenses, I have my main one is the Nikon 200 to 500, which pairs really nicely with the D500. As far as short range, I have a 70 to 200 from Tamron, and then 18 to 55 lens to shoot short range, and then I also have a 300 millimeter f2.8 fixed focal length lens as well.
Yeah, I remember when you rented your first 300 when I flew down to Salt Lake, and then we did one of our canyon trips. I remember when you got that lens and you're using it down there, and I think at that point you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna get one of these, the 300." So,
oh yeah, that was my goal, and typically even with the crop sensor body, I still use my 1.4 extender on it more often than not, especially for Nellis, for red flag days, stuff like that. But if I'm at an air show, sometimes it's easier just without it. But yeah, that lens, just the clarity on it's amazing. Got it used, but it works fantastic.
Yeah, when I was down at Red Flag for the last flag, I rented the 1.4 extender for Canon, and it made my photos a little bit soft and all that, and also it bumped because I usually shoot an f7.1 as normal because at the focal length I was using went to f.8, so my aperture was screwed up at that point, and I just wasn't really impressed by it. And yeah, I was using the 1.4 Mark III, the newest one, but it just didn't really feel that great for me out there. I mean, granted, it was great after the night stuff, but otherwise, it just really was a little too soft for me. I mean, yeah, I could tweak it up a little bit, but and then I took it off the next day, just used a straight 100 to 400, and it worked out great. But I mean, I might give it another shot here, but just really wasn't too impressed by that.
I've used my 1.4 with my 200 to 500, and while it works, it has the same issues. Like it just doesn't act the same. Like I'd rather crop in on a 500 millimeter than actually get up close with the 1.4 extender. So I think those are probably made more for just the fixed focal length lenses, because I see very minimal, if at all, degradation with my 300 2.8. Because with that, even though it does lose a stop or two on this f-stop, I'm still able to shoot in the sweet spot that I like to, which is 7.1 as well.
Yeah, and it's also probably because with the prime lenses, there's a lot less glass to do, and a lot less, you have to deal with the zooming and all that as well.
Yeah, exactly. A lot less, don't really have all the moving parts, and less issue of having alignment issues or anything like that.
Well, and a D500 is, for those that don't know, it's Nikon's top of the line crop body, and it's probably one of the best crop bodies out there, for those that do not know. All right, so you're a Nikon user in Salt Lake City. So, what is your favorite airplane and airport to spot at?
As far as my main go-to airport when I can get there is Nellis. As far as like red flag, I even like going down there when there's just normal weapon school stuff going on. But more often than not, I'm down there when there's either a green flag or red flag going on. Maybe for the air show, when they do have it, it's few and far between anymore, but it's a great air show when they have that. As far as like rare airports, like one that I would love to go to more often is RAF Fairford whenever they have RIAT. The arrivals and departures days for that is just beyond phenomenal. It's just bang bang bang. You will never, in my experience, you'll never experience that much action all at once and that much variety, especially in the military world.
Yeah, I've been down in Ellis with you plenty of times, and it is a great airport, especially when there's a big thing going on down there, whether it be green flag, red flag, air show, etc. Yeah, that's always a fun airport. You just never know what you're going to get out there. I mean, even because you even got McCarran. If you really want to brave the traffic and get bored, you sort of a McCarran, and there's always something that goes in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, what are your favorite aircraft currently to take photos of? Is it the F-35?
I love shooting the F-35, but kind of what the main fighter I got into was the Legacy Hornet, F-18C. That was my, really my first love as far as aviation goes, and I still to this day I get really excited when I see one of those. So, I think that part of that's also because I've mainly grown up in Air Force regions, and so you mainly see F-16s, in my case F-35s, a lot of other stuff like that. But I've always loved the Hornet, and every chance I get to see him, it's exciting for me. So. Not that I'm against the Super Hornet. I love seeing the Super Hornet as well, but there's just soft spot in my heart for the Legacy bug.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And people out there, if you want to get the Legacy Hornets in the U.S. with the Marines, you got a couple more years left because they just came out and they're going to be gone here within the next 5 years. Now, that being said, there was an American company that bought some of the old Legacy Australian Hornets, and they will be using them as aggressor aircraft, if I'm correct. And you also have the Canadians, but I mean, because in the U.S. Air Force or U.S. military, the Marines will get rid of theirs within the next 5 years. So get them while you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what's your favorite airplane? Is it still flying, or what is your favorite airplanes in general?
It always changes. I've never really kind of have a set favorite, but really, over the last several years, my kind of enigma, and I think you'd agree with this as well, has been the F-117. As far as flying, yes, they've been retired technically since 2008, but as most know, they're flying out over the Nevada Test and Training Range and out over the Pacific Ranges a lot lately. So they're definitely still being flown in some capacity. We don't really exactly know the exact reason, but that's one that I really want to catch. I never have caught one with, since I got into my DSLR days. Obviously I got in at 2011. It was after they were officially retired. And I have a couple shots from my old point and shoot, and they were terrible. So, I've gotten a couple, static. I got the one at Nellis. Luckily was able to go on base for that. And then I've got the F-117 up at Hill, which that's been fun because they're restoring it right there in front of everybody. Right now, if anybody doesn't know this, you can actually just see kind of the step-by-step restoration process of that bird right now. It's still in bare metal. A lot of the control surfaces are still off, but they've just got it sitting right there. You can see inside the weapons bay, landing gear. Inside of those were never stripped. It's still the original paint from probably when they were stored, or when that particular aircraft was stored. So it's really cool. You can get up close with it, along with a lot of other aircraft. So I highly recommend the Hill Air Force Museum if anybody's ever out that way.
I agree with you on that. I always preach to go visit that museum. It is a wonderful museum and a wonderful collection they have in there. And I think every time that we've done a canyon trip together, or even a red flag trip, I know we've always considered going out to Tonopah and going out there and seeing if we can get something flying. It never has come to full fruition, but I know one day we're probably going to make it out there. And knowing our luck when we're together, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, if we're planning on it, it's not going to happen. But
no, it won't. And especially when we take in a lot of canyon trips together, more often than not, we have weather issues. I think, let's see, our last 4 canyon trips were all weather crapped out.
Yeah.
We had the winds from hell, clouds, more winds from hell and more winds from hell.
Even since then, I went up there earlier this year when the COVID first started hitting. Me and my dad were already on a trip down in that area, and so we're like, "Hey, let's just go and check the canyon out." Obviously nothing's really flying through there, but we weren't doing anything else. We kind of wanted to see what it looked like normally, anyway. But of course, we got there and it's fog, literally fog the whole time. And yeah, you could hear people were on the radio up above the clouds and the fog. But yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, when the fog finally cleared out, we had a Cessna fly through.
No shit, yeah, you actually got a Cessna
Yeah,
flying
well,
through?
I didn't photograph it, but I woke up to it. I was asleep in the car at the Father Crowley turnoff. I think my dad was out walking around, but I just closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I hear a bunch of commotion, the people out on the parking lot. And I think what he did, I think this guy in the Cessna kind of turned in about midway through, and then kind of went into the canyon and then went down. But they were getting their taking pictures, but because I wasn't really expecting anything, I didn't have my gear set up.
Wow. I mean, it's probably some, Hornet pilot or some other pilot, is just around, just, wanted to make a pass all he could. But I mean, that's been like, hey, guys, I got something through the canyon, get everybody's hopes up, and it's a little 172.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's something through the canyon at least, because it actually was down in the canyon.
Yeah.
It wasn't deep. It was, about eye level where I was at almost, but it was landlocked.
Yeah, still, it's something. I bet everybody got so excited, like, oh my god, and then a lot of people they don't realize that the unfortunate incident which happened last year is probably going to hamper any more flying through for a while now.
That's what I'm expecting as well.
But what about your kind of going back to this? So, what is just your favorite airplane in general? Then is overall,
probably I would say 747. I've always loved the Queen of the Skies. That's just always been that. It's always been pretty elusive to me, especially when I was a kid, because I've always lived kind of in around smaller airports. First time I can really remember one was like a Lufthansa, or no, it wasn't Lufthansa. It was a United 744 that was probably, I'm guessing, was diverting from Denver, because whenever Denver gets thunderstorms in the summer, they'll divert aircraft our way. But we've never had anything big for United, so my house where I grew up, it's right on the Salt Lake landing path, and so you could see most of the aircraft coming in. But I remember being outside and saw that. But anyway, long story short, I've just always loved seeing 747s. I'm sure you probably agree.
No, I absolutely agree, especially what you said about growing up in a small area. We don't get a lot of that. I mean, in Boise, Idaho, the biggest thing that we usually get on a daily basis is an A300. UPS is upgauged to a 767, so that's the biggest thing we usually get on a daily basis. Fortunately, Mountain Home is a drive, and I'm able to get out there. Some stuff is going on, but I mean, it's just not the same as spotting here in Boise. And fortunately, we're able to get some 747s this year for the Guards deployment, and that's kind of one of those airplanes that I stop anything and go see, because it is a 747. Granted, they are cargo 747s, but a 747 is a 747, no matter what variation it is. And, just being able to see them, especially right now with airlines just completely dumping their fleets, Qantas, KLM, British Airways, luckily Lufthansa came back and said, no, we're keeping 14 400s and the rest of the Dash 8s. But, it's just sad to see the demise of the 747 right now. It really is just a heartbreaking thing. Because, if you look 20 years ago, you had the 200s and the 300s and the 400s, and they were the airplane. Like, that was it. I mean, there was nothing else. And then, 777 started gaining momentum, and then Airbus with the A330, and 787 came online, and that was really it.
Yeah, they've just gotten so efficient with the two engine planes, and they're so reliable. That back in the day, that's why they had the 4-engine planes, was because they were afraid they would lose one or two. And there was a possibility of that happening. Now, it's almost unheard of for one engine to go out on a plane, let alone two.
Yeah, especially with ETOPS now too, and ETOPS, for those that don't know, standard for extended operation, so mainly extended overwater operation. So that means if an aircraft loses an engine, it's rated for a certain amount of time For example, a 737 going to Hawaii has an ETOPS rating of 180 minutes. So it could fly over water with one engine for 180 minutes. And I think some other aircraft, I mean, that figure might be wrong, so please, if I'm wrong, let me know, and please correct me. But a lot of other aircraft, I think 777 has 360 minutes of extended operation to get to a certain airport over water, which is incredible. So that's another thing with twin bodies, with this started with a 7.6, mainly for that purpose. But yeah, go look at ETOPS, and that kind of explains kind of why people were very not interested in a two-engine airliner back in the day for that purpose. Well, so do you have a least favorite aircraft to spot, Chris?
I don't know. I hate to put any down, but probably I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like seeing the CRJs. They're great.
Yeah, agreed.
Aircraft for their purpose. But they're so ubiquitous here. Especially flying for SkyWest. Through Delta Connection and as well as a few other airlines. They're just everywhere. Maybe an ERJs as well. I'm just so used to seeing them, and they don't really have as much character as a lot of the previous regional aircraft. Like a lot of the prop planes.
Did you ever get photos of the Alaska SkyWest CRJs in Salt Lake? Because I remember they used to fly them Boise, Salt Lake every so often, and they came in from Portland or Seattle.
I know I got them several times up in Boise. I can't remember if I've ever got them here in Salt Lake. I'd have to look back.
Yeah, because those CRJs were, I remember when they came back into service, back in like 2015, 16, they were officially withdrawn from use. And then with the Horizon pilot shortage in 2017, they brought them back from the dead, and they all came into Boise for refurbishment and re-entry into service. And I was actually, that was the first CRJ I ever actually actively tried to go spot. Because it's just, because they're so rare, just in their own rights, because, and they're in the old paint scheme. And at the time, they were transitioning to the new scheme. So every aircraft after 2016 for SkyWest Alaska or Horizon Alaska was in the new paint job. These were still in the old paint job, which is pretty awesome to see. Granted, the E-175s in the revision scheme, so the Alaska scheme before the current one, looked amazing. And that was only aircraft 170 through 177. And then 178 in May of 2016 were all in the new paint scheme. But seeing the first 7 in the kind of that paint looked really, really cool.
I did, whenever I would see one of those Alaska SkyWest, I would go after them. As well as, if the actual SkyWest painted aircraft come in here in Salt Lake, which, there's a few of them out there, I'll go after them. But, if it's like the Delta United, unless it's like the new United scheme, I'm not really, I just see them so often. It's just, I end up taking tons of pictures. I'm never probably going to end up going through them.
Yeah, they're nothing too special, but, like in those situations. Absolutely. All right, so I know the answer to this one. Hopefully it's the right answer, but what is the rarest aircraft you've ever spotted?
Oh, there's been quite a few. Are you talking about the Aleutian here in Salt Lake?
I am talking about that one.
I caught an eye.
Tell us the story. Let's tell everybody the full story of like from when you got there.
So
and just everything.
This was back in, I want to say 2018. No, it was 2019. Because it was after I was at Riyadh, but. Our friend Jordan let me know. He's like, hey, I think Ukrainian Air Force IL-76 just landed at Salt Lake. He just happened to be tracking it on one of the tracking apps. And so I busted ass and went and checked it out. Luckily, I usually keep my gear on me when I'm working. But I went up there, and sure enough, it was sitting over there, but it was sitting on the guard ramp with the KC-135s, which I thought was odd. This was in the winter. It was like right after the new year. It's cold, but it was good light. But over there where the guard is, there's no place to get shots from off airport unless you're like ops. So anyway, I kind of waited around. Nothing was going on. I saw them seal the aircraft up, so I pretty much knew they were done for that day. And so I tried. I came out really early the next morning, and sure enough, they were getting ready to depart. And so I was able to, even though you can't there's not a good spot to watch the aircraft or photograph the airport from the guard ramp. You can get over there close enough where you can hear them start up and all that stuff. And the startup on that was the most insane startup I've ever heard on an aircraft. Just it was almost like a melodic tune, like symphony. It's hard to explain. Going from one through four engine, I've never heard anything start up like that and just have that smooth sound. But luckily, even though it was in January, being here in Utah, we get a lot of inversion days during that time of the year. It's usually cold. It was still cold, but had great light and got him taken off. And luckily, the light conditions and the position, all that just worked in my favor. Where I got just some awesome pictures. In fact, that was the first time I've ever had pictures published. I had one in combat aircraft.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
Yeah, I know IL-76 isn't really rare per se, even in the U.S. You get a lot of the
Volga, the
private
Volga
cargo. Yeah, like the Volga ones. But this one was just unique because it was actual Ukrainian Air Force aircraft coming in, and supposedly they were running some type of equipment that was going to be utilized out on the ranges for the F-35s.
Yeah, and we actually just in Boise, we just got 2 RAF C-17s in Boise, and back in July when the first one came in and went to Mountain Home. So I saw it was coming in, so I ran my ass out to Mountain Home, and as soon as I got to Mountain Home, it changed its approach path and went right into Boise, which sucked. But luckily I got him taken off, and I got the other one coming into land as well. But seeing other Air Force's heavies in here is absolutely fantastic, especially being just an Eastern Bloc aircraft and Air Force in the United States. Plus the photos you got were absolutely amazing, especially with the bottomless snow and the low winter light. And just at that angle, God, that's probably one of my favorite photos that you've ever taken, honestly.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I just kind of fell backward into that one. I got lucky. I owe a lot to Jordan for letting me know. I probably wouldn't have found out, but yeah, it was awesome. Something I'll definitely never forget.
No, that's a photo that should be printed out and framed and hung. If you ever get one of their patches, frame the patch with it. Yeah. So, but anyway, let's we already talked about Nellis and your red flag events to spot. So besides that, what other events and or locations outside of general airport spotting do you enjoy doing?
That's a good question. I like to do Boise when I'm up there. I'm trying to think what a really good one would be.
So what other like events and that sort of stuff?
Air shows for the most part. The air shows are big for me. I love doing different air shows. I've gotten more into kind of more of the classic jets and the old prop planes. I've really liked chasing those more. I'm as a younger kid when I was always into the speed and still am. Obviously, I'm still a kid at heart, but love going after full afterburner aircraft. But now I'm looking more for some of these classics you don't see very often or might not see at all again. So I like seeing those rare stuff, kind of like when you and I went with Jordan to the Prowler Sundown. That was the last chance we were ever going to get to see those, and I'd never really been around Prowlers very much. So stuff like that, I really like going after kind of the rare stuff, and not necessarily just to say, hey, I've got all this rare stuff in my collection, but just so I have an experience with them, because a lot of these aircraft you won't be able to experience again.
Yeah. What about? Do you have like a specific favorite like air show that you've been to?
Probably, I don't know, Grand Junction's one of my favorite just because of the location. It's usually got a really good setup as far as, having aircraft taxi by, you're really close to the runway. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of space there to get a lot of static, so it's not the best if you were looking for a static show.
Oh, yes. Last year, the only military static was a Hawkeye and a C-130.
Yeah, and so and there's been better before in years past. So I don't know what happened with that one. They didn't even get an F-16 from over in Colorado at Buckley Air Force Base.
Yeah, that was weird.
So, but it's as far as like photographing the flying action, it's a great air show. Great light, great background. It's not very packed. There's not a lot of people going there, so it's pretty easy going. You go to some of these air shows like Riyadh and Nellis, and you're just struggling to try and get around and seeing everything. And with that, even though with fewer statics, it does suck in a sense, but it gives you more time to focus on the flying action. Working on maybe trying to get something, a shot that you never tried before, working on your technique. There's some aircraft that bore me, but I do like to work on my technique a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know another location that we've liked doing in the past was the Star Wars Canyon. Unfortunately, nothing's flying through there right now, but we had some really good trips. I mean, we've been out there. I've been out there with you, I think, 10 or so times, and then you've been a little out there more than me, obviously, with your dad. But we've got some pretty cool stuff through there when we've done our trips out there. Let's see, F-22s, all variants of the F-35, the Cobra, Super Cobra, and the Huey Venom. Yep. One day, which I think I've never seen anything lower in the canyon. The Harriers. I know when we got the VX-31 Harriers, I remember we immediately freaked out.
Yeah, I think that was about one of the most exciting times I think we've had.
Yeah. God, Mountain Home F-15s are there.
Yeah, that one. We just happened to be at the wrong spot at the wrong time, or at that time.
We should have stayed at the amphitheater that day, but that was the day when my camera really started to crap out on me, because I never had my camera always never like going out there. So, when the autofocus stuff started going on and it didn't want to focus. Oh, the Nautic Growlers, can't forget about that. When the camera just decided to say, "No, I'm not going to work anymore," and here goes, literally. So we had the Nautic Growlers coming over the ridge. For those that have been out there, you know what I'm talking about. If not, just look a video of Star Wars Canyon. And the Nautic Growlers are coming over the ridge, and Nautic is Top Gun. It's super rare for any Fallon birds to come down this far. And they come in over the ridge, and they do like one goes up over the other, and then like goes inverted. So I'm getting my camera ready, and my camera goes click, nope, shutter open, not working. And I'm literally freaking out. And I literally pop the battery out, pop the battery back in, tap it a couple times on the side. Finally gets working. By the time I even get my camera ready to go, they're gone. And that sucked hard.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you that mad before.
I was ready to throw my equipment down into the canyon.
Oh yeah, I could see you doing that. That was back when you had the, what was it?
K30 with the Sigma.
Yeah, the Pentax, that's right. Yeah.
Still, that's a great camera, though. I mean, I got some great shots with that camera, but yeah.
When it got to the end of its life, when it was starting to have, those issues, it just, worked great. But then when it would, the few times it wouldn't work, man, that I would see you about chuck that thing, but, never did see you. But at the canyon too, one of my favorite moments too is I think it was the last visit we were there. Last time we ever went was we heard ambush on the radio, and we knew it was VFC 14. I think, is it VFC 14?
Yeah, the Omars.
Yeah, the Omars.
13.
13, that's right. They were coming through, and when we heard ambush call sign, we knew who it was, and I think everybody on the mountain just screamed out in joy. So we got a lot of
people that day. Also, too many people.
Yeah, that was one of probably the busiest day I've ever seen up there.
And then that was also the day where Joshua Control called out to a Cessna saying caution. I wish somebody recorded this when we had to play back. But it said, Cessna, whatever it is, traffic 3:00, low level, F-18, 600 knots.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't see very often a place where you got military going full on, but they still allow some civilian traffic through.
Yeah. God, I wish I recorded that from Steven's scanner. But, it's always been fun when we're able to do that, especially our events and all that. So, Well, all right. Well, let's tell us a little spotting story. What like a fun time or something like that happened.
So you've already been involved with this one, so you're well aware. But back in early 2019, when me, and Jordan Aarons, we went to we did a massive trip. We started out, we all met at in North Carolina, at Raleigh, North Carolina. Went to the Prowler Sundown at Cherry Point. Literally, as soon as we got done with that, jumped up back on a plane, flew back to San Diego, and then drove to Yuma to spend the night so we could go to the Yuma Air Show the next day. I don't think we got into Yuma until like 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Yeah,
I was driving, and
I was passed out because you and Jordan snore so loud I can't sleep. So I was like, I need sleep.
And so, we were already running on fumes from having such a hectic day the day before, which was it was a great day.
Well, put it in perspective. 3 a.m. at that time was 6 a.m. on the East Coast. We left the East Coast at 2 p.m. that time. So we have been traveling. We have been doing our events. I can't remember exactly how long the time was, but it was just absolutely just insane.
Yeah, I think we got to Cherry Point at like 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah, and then we had to drop you off at New Bern. We had to be out of there by like 2:30. I actually almost missed my flight in Raleigh.
Yeah, and that's with pre-check.
With Jordan, yeah, with pre-check. Jordan almost missed his. So you went through New Bern on American through Charlotte. Jordan went up he was with me through Raleigh-Durham on Delta through Atlanta. Then I was on Southwest through Phoenix, and we all met in San Diego. We almost arrived, It's funny, I arrived first, got to the rent-a-car. My credit card apparently wasn't working, so I had to use yours. Then you came along, then Jordan came waltzing in. We're like, hey, we just saw each other like 6 hours ago, and now we're all back together. But, yeah, so then we got in the car. It was like a 2.5 hour drive out to Yuma, Arizona. And then, so we get to Yuma, we get to the hotel about 3:30. I am passed out at that point, and so I'll let you continue telling the story at this point.
So, we woke up ready for the air show the next morning. We got up, pretty decent time, went and got the breakfast. I think we were at Best Western, so they had the free continental breakfast.
Which, man, we destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was delicious. And then we go back to the hotel room, and we're locked out. We are locked out on the air
keys
show.
Do not work.
Literally keys don't work, and so we're like, okay, we'll just go get them rescanned. It happens. We get them rescanned, nothing works, and we're like, this isn't working either. That we go back up to the front desk, and we're starting to kind of freak out by this point, and they bring the on-duty maintenance guy in, and he tries his little hand at it, and he just kind of, I don't know what to tell you. Kind of one of those like where he doesn't have really full buy-in. He doesn't really care. But all of our camera gear's inside that. It's not like we can just leave and check out and come back later. We're trying to go to the Yuma Air Show. That there's only one day.
And we are leaving immediately after the air show too. We're driving back to San Diego and getting on a flight to Las Vegas.
Yeah, we have just all this other stuff still coming up, but yeah, I remember I'm literally starting to think about just busting the window out to try and get into our gear because this guy just didn't care. And I think finally, I think it was Jordan that finally just started acting like he had like a heart condition. And so they finally started really taking it seriously, and they called like the main like general manager of the hotel, and he finally came in about 20-30 minutes later. It seemed like maybe it was less, but it seemed this all took forever, and he finally came in, and what had happened, just the locking mechanism just died. It literally just died, and they was kaput. And so they had, I can't remember what they did. They had to basically reboot it or something. And finally, we were able to get in and get our stuff. The thing that really, I think the thing that really saved our butts for that show, you know how it is, and anybody listening to the show knows how it is. If you go to an air show where they've got the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, maybe the Snowbirds, there's a lot of people just going for that act mainly. And so the good thing about Yuma, they don't have those big acts, and so it kind of keeps the crowd down a little bit. And so even though we were running late, we still somehow by the skin of our teeth found one of the very last front row spots against the fence, because we like being on the fence. We like getting the taxi shots. We like not having to shoot through somebody's head to try and get the shots we want. And so,
Yep.
that almost botched our, that portion of that trip for us. That trip overall, really worked out really well. We went to the canyon, we went and did Red Flag, even though Red Flag got scrubbed, but we still got most of the stuff flying.
It was a Strike Eagle Fest, though, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. The only thing, I wish the Saudi Strike Eagles had went up.
The Sandport guys went up still. Granted,
Yeah.
I haven't seen them, hundreds of times.
Yeah, we don't see them very often out
No,
there.
not at all. No, not at all. We do, guys. We do. We're being sarcastic. We see them all the time.
Yeah, that's a good thing about Boise being so close to Mountain Home. You can see them, the Singapore guys out at Mountain Home a lot, and you get them fairly often flying through and doing low approaches at Boise. Yeah,
A lot of people ask me about locations at Mountain Home, but I tell them, you get the Eagles bouncing at Boise so often, it's not worth wasting your time out there. Because, first of all the land out there is mainly private property or base owned. So if you don't know where you're going, you're trespassing. Simple as that. End of that conversation. But a lot of times in Boise, a lot of the aircraft, when they come back from the ranges, they'll be able to shoot the approaches in Boise and then go back to Mountain Home. But the most of the time when I'm at Boise, I'll usually hear them call in, and I'll get a lot of the special tail photos in Boise, and a lot of the other photos in Boise, because they like coming here so often to shoot an approach for practice. Then they go back to Mountain Home. It's it's like less than a 10-minute flight in the Strike Eagle.
Yeah, and it gives them some variation. They only have one runway at Mountain Home, so that it limits how much stuff can go on there. And having the ILS system at Boise seems to be a big draw for them. But like you said, out at Mountain Home, there's there's a lot of risk out there. That you're going out into not only the farmland, where sometimes there's freaking animals running loose, literally. I've gone out there and there's cows just literally out on the
grazing,
normal trails. And on top of that, you got to avoid the farming, stuff like that. There's a lot of wild animals out there. I'm sure there's rattlesnakes. I've never.
Yeah, there are. I've heard a
any,
couple out there. And the other thing too is you come across farmers, and farmers don't like it when you're trespassing on their land out here. They do not appreciate that at all.
And it's not like Idaho people, have very many guns out there.
Yeah, we don't.
Sarcastically,
we don't know. We don't have any out here. But anyway, well, let's start wrapping up, man. Do you have any tips or words of encouragement for the listener out there that you are willing to share?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things is you're gonna miss stuff. That's part of aviation spotting, aviation photography. You are gonna miss stuff, but let that drive you to get stuff later on. If we got stuff every day, if it was easy, it probably wouldn't be as fun. But that's what leads to the excitement is how hit or miss it can be. Like you and I have had so many misses. Like stuff at McCarran, like we missed the Sands A340
by 20 seconds.
Yeah, stuff like that. It kind of feeds your hunger. While you'd love to get all those misses, but or get them back. It kind of feeds that hunger where you want to get more. Get it the next time, or you kind of mentally prepare yourself. Where you want to be the next time to make sure you're at the optimal spot. That's one thing. Like at Salt Lake, there's so many different variations as far as like depending on the light, depending on the approach, you have to be mentally prepared. Like, hey, what am I going to do so I can get the best light on that shot? And that's kind of what you have to kind of mentally prepare. And I actually like that part a lot. It's like a problem solving, trying to figure out exactly where you want to go, where you want to be, and kind of formulate the shot. Even though more often than not, it doesn't really turn out as great as you expect it. But it's really, I love that challenge. Also, as far as like, propeller, like I'm still working on trying to improve my propeller. That's something that, I'll constantly always be working on stuff like that, working on my technique, trying to get better. You're going to start at one level and you're going to, wish you were, above that, where other people are. Instead of letting that frustrate you, just let it drive you, get better.
Yeah, that's really well said, Chris. Definitely. And These opportunities will happen again, but it just increases your passion. So next time it comes in, you'll be ready for it. And I think you worded that absolutely perfectly. So where can the listener find your work at? You solemnly upload to places, as I noticed, but I know you just started an Instagram. We'll get to that in a second. But do you have like a Flickr, a Facebook page, or anything like that?
I just have my normal Facebook page, just my personal page, Chris Cagle. I do have a lot of my older stuff on there, even though, like you said, I don't post a lot. I've got a lot going on, life-wise. Got a little 5-year-old, married, work full-time. So, not that, I don't have spare time. It's just a lot of time my spare time is getting used elsewhere.
Yeah.
But, it's all good. That's a part of life, and I enjoy, I enjoy working on my photos. I get a lot of them done, but just neglect to put them up. But Facebook, and then I also have my Instagram.
Yeah, you just started that. And what's your handle again, so the listener can find you?
Shock Diamond Photo.
Awesome. So definitely go check him out on there, guys, because you won't be disappointed in what you see. And Chris, thank you again for coming on and doing this really short notice. Actually, it's with my chaotic schedule, as they all found out last week. But it's super nice that you agreed to come on really short notice and all that. And thank you so much for just being a good friend to me, and probably being one of my best friends in the spotting community, and taking all the trips that we've done together for the love of aircraft. So, but yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and same for you. It's been great being a good close friend with you, and being able to go on all of our adventures and trips, and look forward to many more.
Yeah, here's to 2021, and hopefully we might be able to go to an air show this year, next year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, man. Let's get out of here then.
All right, have a good one.
Man, guys, I thought that was a great interview. How about yourselves? I thought that his spotting story with me and Jordan was absolutely hilarious. And yes, that actually did happen. We were ready to break that window. We were that desperate. And the thing he forgot to mention was the air show literally was starting at that point in Yuma. But how about spotting that Ilyushin 76 in Salt Lake, a Ukrainian Air Force One? I know you guys saw the photo. I posted the teaser of it. That's his shot. So, I mean, it's honestly one of my favorite shots that he's ever got. Well, again, Chris, thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday to come on and talk on this episode of the Aviation Spotters podcast. I thoroughly enjoy your support and your willingness to come on very short notice. Well, anyway, guys, this is the end of episode 12, and, as always, like, share, subscribe, talk it over with your network, spread it out, word of mouth. Make sure to go give a like on the Facebook page, Aviation Spotters Podcast. Give me a follow on Instagram, BOI Spotter, and Twitter, BOI Spotter. And as always, guys, if you know anybody that you think would want to come and talk aviation on the show, you know the drill. Send me the profiles, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, email, askspotterspodcast@gmail.com. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me here on another episode of the AvSP. And, can't wait to see you guys in next week. And we're going to have another international guest. It's going to be pretty awesome. AvSP going out international. Until then, guys, keep those batteries charged and those cameras ready. And we'll catch you next time here on another episode of the Aviation Spotters Podcast.